Before we get into the video, I just wanted to ask that if you guys notice this throughout the video, just please ignore it. My girlfriend was trying to give me an eyebrow slit the other day, and yeah, we low-key just took half of it off. But just ignore that if you noticed it. Also, sorry if the video seems like a little less organized today, a little all over the place. I didn't actually write out my ideas this time, and I didn't give it a whole... I mean, of course I did my research, but I didn't give it a whole lot of construction before I started talking. I kind of just picked up the camera and started blabbering, if I may. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, today we're going to be talking about why moral relativism would mean there is no right versus wrong, and why I disagree with that. All right, let's start by defining moral relativism, which I believe it's pretty self-explanatory in the name, but it's the idea that morals are relative to either personal opinion, so the specific person you're talking to, or it's built up off of society or cultural frameworks, meaning they're relative to either a certain society or they're relative to a culture. And what this would mean is, if morals are relative, there is no definitive right versus wrong. There's no definitive good versus evil. It all depends on the person, the society, or the culture that you're speaking to. Meaning, if you think murder's wrong, but another society thinks murder's right, then neither are right or wrong. It's just relative to the person you're speaking to. But what this would mean is, for example, slavery. If morals were relative, and relatives, let's say to society in this situation, if morals were relatives to society, then that would mean slavery back in the day, that wouldn't have been wrong, as it was societally accepted. People, were allowed to own slaves. There was no punishment for owning slaves. And since it was societally acceptable, that would mean it wasn't morally wrong because everyone accepted it, which I think we would all disagree with, as, we all know now that slavery is very wrong. Taking someone and forcing them into labor and abusing them, threatening their life unless they didn't comply to your labor, that's morally wrong to an extreme, I would say. Another thing that moral relativism would say is take your opinion. Say you think murder, battered wives, you think all of that, abusing, little kids, say you think all of that's wrong. You would say you think that's wrong. But under moral relativism, you'd have to also accept that the exact opposite of that opinion, they're both equally valid, in a sense. Yeah, they're both equally valid, as there is no definitive right versus wrong. It's all based on opinion or what your society or culture says. So there's no saying whether you're right or he's right. They're both equal, which I think we would disagree with. Another thing that moral relativism would be going after or stating is that say someone murdered, I know this is going to sound extreme, but say someone murdered your family member. Let's say your mother. Say your mother got murdered. Would you go, if you had the chance to meet the person in court, would you go up to them and say, I disagree with what you did, but I respect your opinion on that murder. I respect your opinion on why you did what you did to my mother. I would say no. I would say you'd go up to them and say, what you did to my mother is absolutely wrong. You shouldn't have done that to my mother. And I think you would want justice. I think you would want them to face the consequences of the actions that they committed. And I think you would want them to be punished for that. But if you're a moral relativist, you have to understand that, maybe he thought he wasn't doing something wrong there. Maybe it's accepted in his mind. He accepts murder as a good thing, but you don't. Well, both are equally as valid. So, there's just a lot of struggles within moral relativism that I think just make it almost impossible to live out. I mean, we as a society ourselves, I don't think, even I just say the whole world, I don't think we follow moral relativism. I think we demand justice. When someone does something wrong, I believe that we want them to face consequences for what they did. I don't think we just say we disagree with it, but we respect what they did, especially in extreme senses. Like, another example, I guess, would be genocide or the Holocaust. Hitler, I'm sure he thought he was doing right for his people. I bet the Nazis thought, we're doing a good thing. But now we know, obviously, that was a terrible thing, right? Sorry, my TV, it's providing light for the video. But we know that was a terrible thing. But in their eyes, they were doing something good. So their opinion, our opinion just as valid under moral relativism, which I hardly disagree with. I think in no sense was the Holocaust okay or morally right. I think everyone would agree that it was a complete wrong. And yeah, that's just pretty much why I think moral relativism falls apart in so many places, and why I don't think it's right. I believe there is a right versus wrong. I think there is an evil versus good, and moral relativism disagrees with that. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching.